Hello and welcome to the new improved solving multi-step equations with variables on both sides. I'm now recording with a voice. All right, our learning goals are I will be able to solve multi-step equations with variables on both sides, and I will be able to verify my solution. So, multi-step equations. Our process so far has been remove parentheses using the distributive property, combine like terms, isolate the variable term, remove the coefficient using inverse operations, and then verifying our solution. But what happens if there's variables on both sides of the equal sign? Well, the solution's simple. We need to get all the variable terms on one side. And this is the final step to our solving equations process. So our first step is always going to be remove parentheses using the distributive property. So if your equation has parentheses, distribute them out. Number two, we're not just going to simplify expressions, we're going to simplify expressions on both sides of the equal sign by combining like terms. Next, we're going to move all the variable terms to one side of the equation, and we're going to do that. Well, we'll talk about that. Next, we're going to move all the non-variable terms to the other side. 5 is we're going to isolate the variable using inverse operations, and then we're going to verify our solution. So if you're looking at this being confused, that's okay. We're going to walk through it a couple of times. Recall, not every step is going to be used in every equation. If you have a one-step equation, you're going to jump into this process at number 5. Isolate the variable using inverse operations. Okay, so when we have variables on both sides of the equal sign, what do? Here's our equation. We have -4 times the quantity r plus 6 equals -12 minus 6r. So you can clearly see that we have an r on the left side and we have an r on the right side. So what are we going to do? Well, first, we're going to remove parentheses using the distributive property. So when we do that, when we distribute the -4 to both the r and the 6, we have -4r minus 24 is equal to -12 minus 6r. Well, what next? We're going to move all the variable terms to one side, and we are going to move the smallest one. So we have -4 and we have -6. -6 is smaller than -4, so that is the one that we're going to eliminate. So I have minus 6r. What can I add to both sides to make that minus 6r a 0? I'm going to add positive 6r. And when I do that, I get 2r minus 24 is equal to -12. My -6r plus 6r is a 0, so it's gone. So now I have a regular multi-step equation. So what's my next step? Now that I have all my variable terms on one side. Well, I'm going to move all the non-variable terms to the other side. So I have 3 terms left in my equation. This term has a variable, this one doesn't, and this one doesn't. I want to concentrate on the variable side of the equal sign and move the non-variable terms to the other side. So I want to eliminate this minus 24. How do I turn minus 24 into a 0? I add 24 to both sides. And then I get 2r is equal to 12. So what's my next step? I'm going to isolate the variable with inverse operations, because now I have all my variable terms on one side and my not variable terms on the other side, and there's only one of each. So that r is being multiplied by 2, so I'm going to use the inverse operation of division, and I'm going to divide both sides by 2. My 2 divided by 2 becomes a 1. So I'm left with r is equal to 6 as my possible solution. What's my last step every single time? Is verify my solution. So I'm going to take 6, and everywhere there was an r in my original equation, I'm going to put a 6, and then I'm going to simplify. So I end up with negative 4 times 12 is equal to negative 12 minus 36, which is negative 48 equals negative 48. That is a true statement, so I know that my solution is correct. My solution is r is equal to negative 6. Okay, let's look at another one. I have negative 8m minus 12 is equal to 2 times 8m plus 6. Okay, complicated equation. What's my first step? First step, remove parentheses using the distributive property. So I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to distribute it to both the 8m and the 6. So I have negative 8m minus 12 equals 16m plus 12. All right, so both sides of the equal sign are as simple as they can be. However, they both have m's. I want to move all the m's to one side, and I'm going to move the smallest one. Does it matter now? No, but it makes things easier when we move on to inequalities. So negative 8m is less than 16m, so I'm going to eliminate the negative 8m. So I am going to add 8m to both sides. And I end up with negative 12 equals 24m plus 12. So now I have all my m's on one side. But I also have this non-variable term there. So my next step is to move all the non-variable terms to the other side. So I want to eliminate this this plus 12 on the right side here, this guy. How am I going to do that? I want to turn plus 12 into a 0, so I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. So I end up with negative 24 is equal to 24m. So now I have all my variable terms on one side, all my not variable terms on the other side. And now I'm going to isolate the variable using inverse operations, which is removing the coefficient. So my coefficient is 24. It's multiplying the m. So I'm going to divide both sides by 24. 24 divided by 24 is 1. So I end up with m is equal to negative 1. Next step is to verify this possible solution. So I'm going to take my original equation here, and everywhere that there's an m, I'm going to replace it with a negative 1. And then I'm going to simplify, and I'm going to end up with the statement negative 4 equals negative 4. Well, this is a true statement. So I know, oh, I wonder what happened to my check mark there. I know that my solution is m equals negative 1 is true. All right, so now we have some practice problems. I think I'm going to make this a separate video.